In what is being called a humiliating public snub from Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex has been abruptly dropped from a major awards gala where she was set to be the star honoree. The event, the Night of Wonder Gala at the LA Museum of Natural History, was supposed to be a huge PR moment for Meghan, honoring her for her charitable work. But just days before she was to accept the award, she was quietly scrubbed from the event. The official excuse given by the museum was vague security concerns across the city of Los Angeles. But now, insiders are telling a very different and much more damaging story. They allege the real reason for the cancellation is that Meghan Markle herself has become too controversial, a PR liability that prestigious organizations no longer want to be associated with. This last-minute cancellation is now being seen as a powerful signal that Hollywood's love affair with the American Duchess may be over. So what's the real story behind this public rejection? Why are critics calling this the moment her brand became toxic? And how did a planned night of triumph turn into a public relations disaster? We have all the details. To understand the full significance of this event, we first need to paint a picture of what was supposed to have been a triumphant evening. The Night of Wonder Gala, hosted by the Natural History Museums of Los Angeles County, is a serious event on the city's philanthropic circuit. It's not a flimsy, celebrity-driven affair. It is a major fundraiser for a respected scientific and cultural institution that has served Southern California for over a century. Past honorees and attendees include leading figures in science, business, and the arts. To be honored here is to be given a stamp of approval from the Los Angeles establishment. For Meghan Markle, this was designed to be a crucial piece of her post-royal branding. The award, intended to celebrate her charitable work on behalf of women and underserved communities, would have provided a perfect platform to reinforce her desired image as a global humanitarian, far removed from the petty dramas of the British monarchy. The optics were carefully planned. However, a detail that quickly surfaced further complicated the narrative. It was reported that one of Meghan's own lawyers sits on the museum's board of trustees, the very body that determines who receives such accolades. While it is not uncommon for board members to nominate individuals in the highly scrutinized world of Meghan Markle, this fact immediately fueled criticism. It fed the perception that this wasn't an honor earned through years of diligent work, but one procured through connections, a PR opportunity masquerading as a genuine tribute. The stage was set, but the foundations were already looking shaky. Then came the abrupt cancellation. The official reason provided by the museum was a matter of public safety. They cited ongoing, sometimes violent, protests in the city and the corresponding presence of the National Guard, painting a picture of an unstable Los Angeles that had become a war zone. On the surface, this seems like a plausible, if dramatic, reason for postponing a major event. However, seasoned observers in both the media and the events industry immediately raised questions. Major institutions like the NHM have sophisticated security protocols and deep connections with law enforcement. They are well equipped to handle security for high-profile events. This led to widespread speculation that the security concerns were not about general unrest in the city, but were, in fact, concerns centered specifically around Meghan herself. This theory represents the first layer of the real story. The Duchess is now arguably one of the most polarizing figures in the world. Her presence anywhere is a magnet for intense media attention and, increasingly, for public demonstrators. For every devoted fan, there's a vocal critic. Event organizers have reportedly become acutely aware of this Meghan effect. The fear was that her attendance at the gala would attract unwanted chaos. The narrative would shift from celebrating science and philanthropy to a media circus focused on picket lines and potential confrontations outside the museum's doors. From a risk assessment standpoint, the conclusion was simple. The potential for negative press and security headaches far outweighed the benefit of her presence. Honoring her, it seems, was deemed not worth the backlash. This speaks to the second, deeper layer of the story. The growing perception in Hollywood and the nonprofit world that Meghan Markle has become a PR liability. This is a devastating label for a public figure whose entire career is built on image and influence. For a time, after she left the royal family, her name was pure gold. She was the brave, modern woman who had taken on the establishment. Any brand or charity would have jumped at the chance to be associated with her. But that halo has now, by all accounts, vanished. The relentless cycle of controversy, the Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the spare memoir, the public feud with her own family, has taken its toll. The narrative of victimhood has, for many, worn thin. A Hollywood agent, speaking anonymously to the press, put it bluntly: industry executives are now extremely hesitant to engage with her. She is no longer seen as a safe bet. The prevailing wisdom is that wherever Meghan goes, controversy follows. An event that should be about the cause becomes, invariably, all about her. She has transformed from a draw, an asset who brings positive attention, into a distraction, a liability who brings baggage. The silent, non-confrontational way the museum handled the cancellation is a classic establishment move. A loud, public statement would have created more drama. Instead, they opted for the silent snub, a quiet digital erasure of her name from the event's promotional materials, a move that is in many ways more damning because it signals a desire to simply disassociate, to pretend the invitation was never extended. As one royal watcher noted, had this been an unavoidable cancellation for a figure like Beyoncé or Michelle Obama, the museum would have likely issued a gushing, apologetic press release. For Meghan, there was only silence. This quiet act is now being interpreted as a powerful verdict from the very Hollywood system she sought to conquer. The public and media reaction to the news was not one of sympathy, but of widespread criticism and, in many quarters, outright mockery. The cancellation acted as a catalyst for a broader deconstruction of Meghan's philanthropic credentials. The question began to be asked with increasing frequency and intensity: what exactly has she done? Commentators and the public alike started to scrutinize her charitable work. Her and Harry's Archewell Foundation has been criticized for having high administrative costs relative to its charitable grants. Critics lined up to label the intended museum award a hollow gesture, arguing that she was being honored for things that no one can actually name. Outside of using her title to draw attention to issues, what specific, tangible, long-term projects has she successfully spearheaded? The uncomfortable truth is that a clear answer to that question is not readily available. This has fueled the accusation that her humanitarianism is largely performative, a series of carefully staged photo ops rather than a lifetime of dedicated service in the vein of someone like the late Princess Diana or even Princess. And the timing of the planned awards ceremony only added to the firestorm of criticism. The gala was scheduled to take place on the very same day as Trooping the Colour in London, the grand annual parade celebrating the monarch's official birthday. To staunch royalists and even casual observers, this was no coincidence. It was seen as a deliberate act of counter-programming, an attempt to steal the spotlight from her father-in-law, King Charles, on one of his most important days of the year. It fit into a perceived pattern of behavior, where the Sussexes would often release personal news or photos on days that were significant to other members of the royal family, a move seen as petty and disrespectful. This perceived attempt to upstage the king backfired spectacularly, making the subsequent cancellation seem like a case of karmic justice to her detractors. The fallout quickly transcended online commentary and became fodder for mainstream media, where Meghan found herself the subject of sharp-tongued satire. Being mocked on a major platform like Saturday Night Live is a significant cultural moment. It signals that a public figure has lost their protective aura and is now considered fair game for comedy. SNL's Colin Jost did just that, taking a jab at her fading star power. This was followed by a blistering critique from prominent news commentator Megyn Kelly, who has become one of Meghan's most vocal critics. Kelly questioned how the Duchess continues to receive public honors despite consistently failing to deliver anything of substance. She powerfully articulated a growing sentiment, arguing that Meghan has built an empire on victimhood and staged speeches. In the UK, the commentary was even more brutal. Dan Wooten of GB News framed the cancellation as a final verdict from the industry she so desperately wants to court. "This isn't just a cancellation," he declared. "This is the clearest sign yet that Hollywood is done with her." He argued that the Meghan effect is no longer gold. It's toxic, and that this event has exposed her for what she is, a calculating self-promoter masquerading as a humanitarian. This unified chorus of criticism from major media figures on both sides of the Atlantic is proof of a significant shift in her public standing. The love affair with Meghan, as one producer put it, is over. And what was the view from inside the gilded cage of Buckingham Palace? According to royal sources, the news was met not with shock, but with a sense of quiet satisfaction and weary vindication. One royal aide was quoted as saying, "It was always just a matter of time." The prevailing feeling within the palace is that Meghan's celebrity-focused, controversy-driven approach to public life was always a house of cards, destined to collapse. For years, they have weathered her accusations and criticisms. Now, to see her post-royal career falter on its own terms without any intervention from them is seen as proof of the enduring wisdom of their own model: quiet diplomacy, a focus on duty, and a belief in earning respect through decades of hard work, not demanding it through interviews. There's a palpable sense of relief that, for once, the negative headlines are centered on a Hollywood institution's rejection of Meghan, rather than on an attack by Meghan against the monarchy. Meanwhile, Meghan's own team was reportedly thrown into full damage control mode. This gala was a key part of their PR strategy. It was intended to be another carefully staged moment to reinforce her carefully constructed activist image. Its cancellation transformed a planned victory into a public relations disaster. Her team is now said to be desperately trying to spin this embarrassment, perhaps by blaming an overly cautious museum or by quickly announcing another project to change the narrative. But the damage has been done. The story is out, and it's not a flattering one. This single event, the cancellation of one award, has become symbolic of a much deeper and more significant disintegration. Hollywood, the town that was once so mesmerized by the glamour of a real-life American duchess, is now quietly and cautiously backing away. Hollywood is a town that runs on success, and Meghan's brand is increasingly associated with controversy, professional setbacks, and what is perceived as a growing gap between her grand pronouncements and her actual achievements. The awards she once used as PR leverage are now becoming a source of mockery, especially when even museums won't risk their reputations to give one out. The cancellation sent a public, powerful, and embarrassing message. Meghan Markle's name no longer carries the weight, the prestige, or the positive power it once did. Her carefully constructed image as a global icon and a voice for the voiceless is crumbling under the weight of its own contradictions and a perceived lack of substance. With every snub, every failed deal, and every public cancellation, her influence shrinks, her relevance fades, and her once vocal supporters grow quieter. This raises the ultimate question about her future. Can she recover from this string of failures, or has her brand finally reached its limit? The fairy tale she wrote for herself, of a princess who conquers Hollywood on her own terms, seems to be over. And the uncomfortable truth may be that, for now, no one is eager to write the next chapter with her in it.